But what are you saying about some of these stories? Kadi joins me now for a review. Hello, Kadi.
Well, Bukola, quite a lot. And I think it's only fair to begin with the humanitarian situation in Borno State. We've been staying with that story and will not leave that story until we get some sort of closure. Well, the latest we have for you today is that the United Nations has announced $6 billion donation to Maiduguri flood victims. But what are you saying about that? Well, we'll start off with this one from Peter Wike. I know what you're thinking, but let's look at the statement. It says, I hope the government will judiciously use all these funds flying from all directions to fix the dam, relocate houses on the floodways, and build flood canals, either channels, but I imagine this is channels you're trying to say. And at the end, tell us what went wrong and those responsible for what seems to be an avoidable calamity. And I think this has been the elephant in the room for a lot of people.
And this next one is from Zeus, who says, with all these donations, the food should be prevented and all property owners compensated. The food should go around, I believe that's what they're trying to say.
Or the flood should be prevented.
The flood, the flood.
So imagine you're saying the future flooding should be prevented.
See the L there.
There you go. Well, the next one is from Zeus, which you took already, but let's take a look at the AB Ahmed Zone saying, I hope all the donations will be used judiciously to change the life of victims. We're just trying to air the opinions of Nigerians on this one. So people in government know that Nigerians are watching, they are listening, they are, in fact, they have all of their human being invested in this.
Yeah, and we could talk about the 3 billion naira donated by the federal government. Yeah. The governor of Gombe State also donated 100 million naira to Borno State to tackle the flood. In addition, there's a $6 million from the United Nations. So Nigerians are watching and they're demanding accountability in the expenditure of these funds. Next, we go to this one, which is quite interesting. It's about the wife of the president unveiling a national unity fabric. And the first speaker is Dowman, who says, there you have it. Well done, Madam First Lady. While we commend your recent efforts, we kindly ask that on behalf of the Nigerian people, you appeal to the president to address and alleviate the economic challenges currently facing the nation. So I guess he's saying that, look, Madam President or Mrs. First Lady, we have bigger fish to fry. National unity fabric is not one of Nigeria's problems right now.
I imagine we're closer to Madam President as the days go by.
Amen.
But this next one, and I should mention that the designer of the flag, well, from the University of Ibadan, Godson, I think 25, not the flag, the designer of the fabric got 25 million naira prize money. This next user, Henry, the one who says, noble initiative, had Nigerians not been hungry and unable to afford power and fuel. So I get what you're trying to say here. So it goes without saying.
National Ashwebi, well, where is it on your list of priorities? Maybe you'll tell us in subsequent comments. This next one is from David House, who has just 2 lines. And he says, fabrics can't unite a nation. Equal rights and justice can unite. Maybe this is meant to unite the fabric of the nation. But take a look at what Doherty Oloketui has to say. It says, national unity fabric with a question mark. What purpose will this serve under the present confusion, hunger, poverty, and insecurity in the land? So it looks like a lot of people are approaching this with skepticism, thinking that, well, this is not the right time for this, but it's been done. Now we'll see how it plays out. Well, let's go to the next talking point now, and it's about what we already touched on, but we'll expand your thoughts on them now. Protests in Lagos Model College as parents kick against increment in boarding fees from 35,000 naira to 100,000 naira. And this first one is from Evangeline Chinyere. It's quite a long one, but we'll run through it. Man, well, that's an exclamation, I believe. Nigeria is not for the weak. How will someone with 3 children cope? That is 300K. If you talk now, they will ask you to cut your coat according to your size. By putting your kids in school, you can't afford.
Or you can afford.
You can afford. Forgetting the fact that this is exactly how poverty spreads when people keep lowering their standards of living because of bad policies and inflation.
The debate is very interesting. People have said, well, you go to the markets and you see prices going up. You purchase other things, you do transport, even petrol, you see prices going up. So why don't you want the price of education to go up as well? Because they also go to the same market, purchase the same things. They have to pay teachers and other infrastructure. But some other people say education should be well protected because it's meant to be something that is basic for development. One more from this one, and we'll wind down. But keep your comments coming in, hashtag CTV Morning Brief. And this user, Director Lakey, says, in this economy, and with the look of things, can these parents feed their children with 100 or 1,000 naira daily? Or the school is expected to perform magic? So let's fight the right battles. Nigerians fight the fuel hike, naira devaluation, and not school fee hike. The latter is inevitable. That is like misdirected protests, this user says.
That's a huge one there. Now, this next one is from Dapsy, right? We'll have time for one more. And Dapsy says, really? Let's be factual here. Do you want to send your kids to a boarding school on just 100K? Are you not afraid they will feed them with lizards and grasshopper in this current economy? Now you want 35K and you will be able to sleep comfortably at home knowing your child's welfare is pegged at 35,000 naira. But the question here is affordability. And, one person has rightly said, what if you have 3 children in that school? You have to cough out 300,000 naira. Well, the managers of our economy must know that there's some people who do not have the capacity to keep stretching and stretching as the pump price of petrol keeps increasing. And there is that very big worry that education may be on the line. Maybe people will begin to drop out because of their inability to afford to pay such high fees. Remember, there's also tuition involved to be catered to, apart from the boarding fees.
So there you go. Send your comments in, particularly about this one. School fees generally. Is it the same where you are? Has it increased? Let us know. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. This is a community show. I want to air your thoughts and opinions to the world because this is part of policy formulation. So keep it coming.
Keep them coming. Remember, hashtag CTV Morning Brief. And while you're doing that, we'll begin unfolding the show, yes, your show, in just a moment as we touch on the health sector. It affects you. So stay with us for the conversation. We'll be right back.